I love one of the comments. I gotta go to the
Mhm.
bathroom. Don't be queer without me.
Oh, man. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you again. It is time for another panel today. Thank you for joining us for this one. It's going to be a bit of a history lesson now. Please welcome our panelists for this hour and feel free to take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sakura Envy. I've been a Fire Emblem girly for a few years. Three Houses was my first foray into it. Oh my gosh, wait, I also Twitch stream Fire Emblem. So many of my chatters are here. I'll say hi and chat with my account. Hi, guys. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be going through a comprehensive history of Fire Emblem 1 all the way till Fire Emblem 17, and it'll be like all of the progress we've made with gender and queerness throughout the entire Fire Emblem franchise. And along the way, I'll take a look at chat. Please feel free to ask me if you have any questions. I love talking with people about Fire Emblem, so this seems like the place to do it. Okay. So this is a little bit about me. Before we begin, I'll just introduce myself. I'm a big Fire Emblem girly. I also love Pokemon, science, cosplay. I do chess. I teach chess summer camps on the side. So if my presentation style is like a little bit like fun camp counselor, that might be why. The what I always tell people is Fire Emblem is like if chess had hot people in it. That's how I'm trying to get all of my friends to play Fire Emblem. All right, so without further ado, we will begin. And this is chess and the cooler chess. Okay. So, as with any video game series, Fire Emblem has a pretty fraught history with gender and sexuality. So, we're going to go chronologically through all the games, looking at what advances were made for gender and sexuality, and then we're also going to look at per game dishonorable mentions. And you're going to see that over the entire franchise, it has evolved incredibly over time. So, some of the stuff I'm going to discuss is canon, and some of it is more like subtextual. The way I'll denote a progressive change is with green, and then like a regressive change is with red. And then if a trope appears again and again and again, if it's a trope like, Kaga and his hypnosis, I'll put a C also somewhere on the screen. So, with Fire Emblem 1, we're actually starting off really strong. Fire Emblem 1, the first Fire Emblem game, right off the bat, it has a lot of strong women in it. So the quote at the bottom is taken from an interview with Kaga. He's a fan of strong female characters in all forms, and this is represented pretty well through a couple of women. Even though in earlier games, women are mostly relegated to like dancers, clerics, there are a couple really strong women in early games, and he doesn't shy away from it. So these women are all like strong in their own way. This would be the Minerva archetype, the Pegasus trio, and here's Kaga's quote. I like strong women, but not just in the romantic sense. I like determined women with a clear goal in mind. For the Fire Emblem series, that might include characters like Minerva, Ira, Altena, reliable women basically. However, even though gentle, graceful dancers like Adane may seem delicate, they're in no way weak. That's true for every character as well. So, right off the bat, pretty progressive. A downside from Fire Emblem 1, and I know this might seem like a non-issue, there are no female villains. I want like ugly and mean female villains. And Kaga said he did this on purpose when he was writing Fire Emblem 1. He wrote, I didn't like the idea of completely irredeemable women, but I guess no one does. I didn't want to make a female character completely evil. It feels so overly unpleasant that I wouldn't like doing that. He does make evil women later in the franchise, but in that first game, we get no evil women. Okay. This might be controversial in this room. The bow he's serving. Thank you. Thank you. I copy pasted a bow on his head and I was like, it's time. Um, for Fire Emblem 1, I think a downside was this is something that Fire Emblem gets clowned on for repeatedly, and they wouldn't if they didn't keep reusing this trope. It's little girls who are like 1,000 years old, but with like the body of a child and the mind of a child. I think these character designs can be really fun. My only issue is like when they're romanceable, and they also don't do it with little boys either. I do think like Tiki, I think is an absolutely fun design, and same with like the little Anna and Engage. But it's weird when they're romanceable. All right, so we're going to be going on to Fire Emblem 2, Shadows of Valentia. If I'm only featuring red for some games, that doesn't mean the game had no progressive points. It just means like no extra progressive points from previous games. I do want to put out there, I think Alm and Celica are good characters, but there's a through line between how Intelligent Systems writes male and female protagonists, and we'll be seeing this as we run through the series. She's like, Celica, the gentle-hearted, and he's like, the lion, the brave. And then ultimately in the series, she gets tricked by Duma. Just make adult women with dragons see Tiki in Awakening. I loved Tiki's adult design. I thought it was a really fun adult design. I had a couple questions about. All right, we're going on to Fire Emblem 3, Mystery of the Emblem. At the end of the game, I think it really emphasizes the damsel in distress trope in this game. Like at the very end, women are just kind of sacrificed to a dark god and need to be saved. I played the remake of this one, and I couldn't save any of those women. I played an Iron Man of it. I lost every single unit that could recruit them, and I had to kill all of those poor healers. But I do want to see more women in powerful roles. Okay, we're going to Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, and this is our introduction to female villains. There's not a lot of female villains in this game, and their hair all kind of looks exactly the same. But by God, they're there. They're there. After this game, Fire Emblem would go on to incorporate some main female antagonists, and then later would go on to have enemy female generics. Engage, Fates, Awakening have a ton of enemy female generics, and they have hot ones at that. The Bob. Okay, you have to let me know in chat if you guys like Genealogy of the Holy War. I've played every game but this one. I couldn't manage to get into Genealogy of the Holy War. It's just so much running around a map. All of the maps are like pushed together. There's like 3 in 1. You guys get it. I support women's wrongs. Let women be evil. I was going to say we'll get to 3 houses at some point, but very debatable on whether people think she's evil or not. We'll be here for hours if we debate it. So the downside, I think, when we go into Genealogy of the Holy War is TV Tropes has an entire page dedicated to Kaga's obsession with hypnotized women. Whether it's Marita with her own sword, Vale with a helmet, Ninian hypnotized to open the Dragon's Gate, Kaga has so many hypnotized women. TV Tropes has an entire page dedicated just to Fire Emblem's use of the hypnotized woman trope. Big shout out to Takumi for being a guy who's hypnotized. We love representation. Okay, so moving on to the good things from Thracia 776. This was the first time I did not know there was an entire TV Tropes page for it. It's a very interesting TV Tropes page. Like, anytime I play Fire Emblem, I'm like, wow, another hypnotized woman. Anytime I need to guess a plot point, I'm like, is it a hypnotized woman? But actually being able to see the page, I'm like, wow, they've really done a lot of it. Fire Emblem 5, Thracia, was the first time where Kaga had explicitly mentioned female fans of the game. So there was a roundtable discussion where Kaga talked about the development of Thracia 776, where he mentioned us for the very first time. He said, women would not find Leaf attractive if he rode a horse. So when he promotes, we shouldn't be having him ride a horse. And in a vacuum, this is a really, really weird statement, but it means something in the fandom that he knows that like women like us exist and like to play the game. He remarks you gotta be careful about Leaf's promotion because women wouldn't find Leaf hot if he rode a horse. I think I'm a lesbian, but I do think personally Leaf would be hotter if he could run away from the enemies. I think that would make him a lot more attractive. Why are we taking away his movement? I know it was odd, but it's neat. It's the Leafs promotion, Master Knight, and FE4 make it make sense. Make it make sense, Kaga. Fire Emblem 5, Thracia 776. Also, I think might be the beginning of the subliminal gay trope. So they've written about Marty and Dagdar. For Marty, they write the description, the man who Dagdar loved, and I didn't necessarily see that as platonic. For other subliminal gays, we have Lucius and Raven, Alincia, Lucia. I would call Florina and Lynn a subliminal gay. I don't think they're subliminal. I don't think they're subliminal. I can sword. That's all out in the open. Survivability is attractive. Everyone's hotter when their movement is 7 plus. The more boots someone has on them, the hotter they are. That's the metric I should be using to assess attractiveness. The more boots, the hotter. Sorry, is it Shura? Whose boots do we murder for? I was gonna say it, but I don't feel like horses really detract from hotness. I think also stereotypically, like, I mean, not to stereotype obviously, but I was like, I thought women are into like horses or like horse hobbies. So I feel like the horse would make him hotter if that was the issue. Shura, thank you. Shura was. Okay. So I would say the negative from Thracia 776, and they're not the only ones who do this, is women are often really, really bogged down by a low constitution stat. I want to give credit to Actual Lizard. I've collabed with him before. He's a wonderful guy. He did a video about constitution and gender. Female units within the same classes tend to support a much lower constitution in earlier games, which sucks. It means their attacks are slowed down in some games. They can't sport weapons that are as heavy as their male counterparts. And not to say that this isn't necessarily reflective of average real world sex differences, but in a game with magical time portal babies, you can make women hold a heavy sword. Women should be able to hold heavy swords. They're gonna do it. It doesn't have to be this gender skewed. So this is a woman here with a constitution of 5, and there's a guy with a constitution of 12. We don't need to have them diverging this far. For research on this topic, I went to Serenus Forest and I took psychic damage. Someone had asked the question, why do women have lower con stats? And someone wrote, it follows from nature. Female units have lower con. There is no other correct answer. Sexual dimorphism is one of the most basic facts of life, and it's one more people should keep in mind. This is my magical fantasy escape game. We don't need to reflect real world differences. Would be Rinka. I wish they made Rinka have better like strength. Rinka had so much potential as a unit, but in my game she was just a stat backpack. Really attractive and fiery stat backpack, really powerful one, but a stat backpack nonetheless. All right, we're moving on to FE6, Binding Blade. I would denote this as a regressive change. I don't know what to call this trope other than effeminate men or men who act in a really like women-esque manner, but usually this is not played up in a really positive trans light. They usually play this as a joke, unfortunately. And examples of this are in so many series. We have the pair Maggie and Rose, Paul and Jasmine, Pain and Agony, Lloyd and Lewin, and Victor and Vincent. And later on in Fire Emblem, they have like good gay men representation, good like cool effeminate men. But here I'm with you, Lee MCN. The haircut is terrible. The anti-Rosados. I do think they improve a lot on this trope over time, but this is something that I see like again and again and again. It always feels like the butt of the joke is that either they're like gay or effeminate or they have women's names. All right, moving on to progressive changes. This is from Blazing Blade. I cosplayed Lynn from Fire Emblem as my very, very first cosplay. I gave a speech at an anime convention as to why everyone should play Fire Emblem. She's a fun game, fun character, and a good starting game. So Fire Emblem 7 introduces Lucius, and with it, an ongoing plethora of feminine men showcased in a really positive light. While these men tend to get a lot of jokes thrown their way about being mistaken for women, they are pretty proudly men, especially Rosado. The reason they're able to do this is like, I think feminine men they managed to make marketable. We still need butch women. The butchest they'll allow a woman to get is Marin before they get scared. I think I guess we have Sully. Other butch women in the series. The hot blacksmith from Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. That is a hot butch woman. Oh, Techi and Tachi. I forgot those two. Thank you. For the effeminate twins. All right. Another positive from Fire Emblem 7, Blazing Blade, is I think this game had enough queer subtext it lasts the Fire Emblem queer drought until Fates. Historians will say these two were best friends, roommates even. So this is a dialogue taken directly from the game. Lindis, I'm sorry. I had no idea you felt that way. I do. Someday, when I return to the plains, come with me, Florina, won't you? And she also goes up to Lynn and says, even if it's for a little while, do you think you could hold my hand? Sorry, I don't know why I do Florina's voice like that. That's always how I headcanoned her voice. I could not read this in a way that did not scream gay to me. Excellent voiceover. Thank you. Is that a wedding photo? This wasn't from the game, but someone made a three houses version of a wedding photo. I think it looks so beautiful. This is like hang on wall type poster beauty. Wait, speaking of girlfriends, do you guys want to? I hope this is appropriate for Fire Emblem Con. Do you want to meet my girlfriend? Emily, that's you. You can lean in the camera. Come here, come here. Say hi, Emily. If you guys have recommendations, I'm really trying to get her into playing Fire Emblem. She hasn't played a Fire Emblem game yet. Girlfriend reveal, thank you. Awakening always feels like a really good jumping off point. Well, thank you. Oh, thanks, guys. We've been dating for about 9 years now. All right. So this is the detriment from Blazing Blade. 11 chapters in, and Lynn is a little bit tossed aside. And I love Lynn. Her stats, like, other than maybe her speed stat, I think her stats are a little bit on the low side. She kind of gets sidelined in her own story. Real travesty is she gets a proficiency weapon. She can't even use her own proficiency weapon. She's bogged down by her constitution and cannot lift it without taking severe stat penalties. But I love her so much as a character. I just wish she got so much more limelight in this game. All right. We've reached Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. I saw someone say, try Sacred Stones. I agree with that. Sacred Stones also feels like a really good jumping off point. When I was playing Twitch, in front of my Twitch stream, I did a Nuzlocke Iron Woman run of Sacred Stones. Tough. It was tough to do, but with Seth, anything is possible. Seth is always your get out for free card. So this is La Rochelle, one of my favorite women from Sacred Stones. If I was not a holy woman, I would beat you senseless. Do you guys have any questions or comments so far for the entire thing? I will take any questions or comments. Lynn can't be the final boss with effective damage. Are there artists somewhere for the? There are. Oh, it's at the end of the PowerPoint. I can absolutely post the links later. That's actually a really good thing for me to note. I should put it right underneath all of the art whenever I'm doing it. I'll know that for future. I've presented this one at different anime conventions, and every time I do it, I learn to do something a little bit new every single time. I thought Shamir was a gay option for women in three houses. Shamir is not. Shamir is Catherine's only. You can't romance her as Femme Violet. FE7 contains 50% of Fire Emblem's non-binary representation. That's true. That's true. All right. We'll go on forth, but feel free to ask me about anything. Hi, Reina. All right. Erica and Ephraim unfortunately suffer from a lot of the same issues Alm and Celica do. Sort of like the gentle female leader, the strong-hearted and strong-willed male leader, the one who's like, there's three of us, let's go storm an entire castle. I'm tired of I love gentle female leaders, but I want to see someone who's, I have language in here that I'm not allowed to say, but you guys know what I mean. I want to see someone who's mean and ambitious. Shamir likes her blonde. Shamir likes her blondes. Maybe not her blue hairs. All right. We're moving on to Fire Emblem 9, Path of Radiance. We, in this game, get our very, very first female Jagan unit. There was a lot of women in the development process for Path of Radiance. And I think that is in part why we get to see our first woman represented as a Jagan. She's a good one at that. She's no Gunther. She's no Vander. She, I think, only falls off at the very, even if you play on the hardest difficulty, she will take a very, very, very long time to eventually get doubled. Maybe something with the red hair. All the red hair Jagans are honestly really, really killing it. We've had Vander, Gunther, Seth, and of course Jagan himself. So it was really good to see a woman who was a Jagan unit. Titania is incredibly powerful. Base, who is this amazing person? She's like Ike's mentor kind of in the series. If anybody wants to get into a good jumping point for Fire Emblem, I feel like Path of Radiance is also a really, really good point to start. It's a really fun gameplay, and I think the story is minus maybe Three Houses amongst the best. It's a very like cohesive, well-written story. Female designs in the Tellius games are peak. I agree. Women have like really nice practical armor. They're very like they're ready for war. I like all of the designs just in general. Like fantastic armor. Coming to NSO soon, so everyone will get to experience it without buying it off of eBay for $600. As some people very close to me have done. She is an amazing character. All right. So we're going to, I think this might be amongst people's favorite couples in Fire Emblem. This is a canon queer couple. There is a lot of messaging woven throughout the entire game about Ike and Soren's relationship. And then Engage goes on to further emphasize that they're together. Anytime Soren sees Ike, he's like, Ike? One of the final parts reads, I think at the very end of the series, or the very end of Path of Radiance, when peace had settled on the land, Soren packed lightly and set off with the only person he had ever trusted. And I thought that was lovely. If you don't pair Ike with Soren, he can pair himself with the furry from the series, which, big shout out to that. I respect that. I guess in front of 75 people, I feel odd exposing myself in this way, but it's fine. I'm sure there's many of us in here. My girlfriend isn't, but I am furry adjacent is what I like to say. The dog ears didn't give me away. I think the fursuits are so cool. I don't have fursuit money, but I love the culture, love the art, and it seems like Ike does too. Before I move on, I know this is about gender and sexuality, but I would be remiss if I didn't give a dishonorable shout out to Devdin. We have so few characters of color, and they sort of made Devdin into a caricature. Later on in the series, they introduced such fantastic people of color, like Fagato, Tamara, Petra, Claude, but as of right here, you're gonna have one character of color, and you're gonna make it Devdin? Come on, Intelligent Systems. You did better. You did great with queer and women's representation. You gotta do better with race representation. All right, we're going on to Fire Emblem 10, Radiant Dawn. So, this is an official non-binary character from Intelligent Systems. On Kaisa's Heroes page, it reads, the wooden plaque in Kaisa's hand is called an Ima, and it's a traditional New Year's item in which you draw or write something that represents your wishes for the coming year. Hopefully this wish will help them win Randolph's heart in New Year's. Whatever happens, I'm rooting for you, Kaisa. It's so nice to see non-binary representation. Kaisa, my beloved, we can all pitch in and get her a fursuit. You guys are so nice. The non-binary page is so funny. I for doing research for this, I was like, Fire Emblem non-binary characters, big empty page, and it's just like Kaisa. Like wonderful. We have an NB furry. I just saw they have furry racism, but then they have also racism. Yeah. I do like how they resolved the furry racism plot in Path of Radiance. Soren gets over his racial tensions. I'm proud of him. Proud of him for that. All right, whoever predicted Heather, you were right. Here is Heather, big old lesbian. And then here's the differences in her dialogue when she's talking to a woman versus when she's talking to a man in the game. So this is her talking to Brahm about Nefni, another woman. Hey, I couldn't care less about you, but I can't sit back when a girl's in trouble. We gotta go. We can't leave Nefni waiting. Hold up, wait a tick. What's your name? Heather, but for you, Hayseed, don't forget Miss. Got it? This is her now talking to the woman. Don't worry about it. I'm the type that likes to help nice country girls like you. Like me? That's right. Don't worry about it. This is turning out to be a great day. Radiant Dawn, there was no subtlety in this one. I kind of like that. Sometimes you just gotta yell to the audience, she's gay. She was like, I love women and I'm not ashamed of it. Good for you, Heather. I wish she was a better playable unit. She was a thief who, in my run, did like 4 damage per hit, probably consistently throughout the entire game. If any of y'all have a working Heather, please let me know. But Heather's the goat here. My dialogue also changes when I talk to a woman versus a man. Hello, Elise. Heather's good. I wish she had support. Oh, true. Radiant Dawn doesn't have supports. We could have learned a lot more about them. Okay. My downside for Fire Emblem 10, and I love Micaiah. In fact, I love Micaiah so much, I wish we got to know more about her. I got an entire game about him. Micaiah's a healer, the plot's kind of following her. Entire last chapter, and this is a spoiler for Radiant Dawn, so please cover your ears if you don't want to hear this part. She gets possessed by a god, and we don't get to hear from her during like the duration of the rest of the game. But I think she's such a fun and cool character. The animations for Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn were like those like QB animations, but I wanted to see a couple more from her. She's giving Disney princess. Ah yes, the Dawn Thieves that do 2 damage. After playing Path of Radiance with their really strong group, having to play with the Dawn Brigade, I was like, are any of you guys good? Well, at least Shod can carry you through the beginning of the game, and Jill, I love my girl Jill. I in the game, and maybe I'm a monster for doing this, and I'm being punished for doing this. In the game, Jill is like, please don't make me talk to Har. My heart will break if I talk to Har. And I was like, this is gonna be really good dialogue if she talks to Har. I had to reset my whole game system. If you make Jill, a dragon rider, talk to him, she switches sides and fights against you. I didn't know Fire Emblem was capable of that. She gets poached. She gets straight up poached. Edward's good. Edward and whatever that axe guy is, I made him work. But Dawn Brigade starts off slowly, especially in comparison to Ike's group. I bonded Ike and Soren. They could never get hit. Their love kept them strong. Okay, so here we have Fire Emblem 12, New Mystery of the Emblem. In the remake, they introduced protagonists. And guess what? You can play as a woman. So this is Chris, the protagonist from New Mystery of the Emblem. We have another blue-haired lord. So I know this one looks like Marth, but it's not Marth. It's also Chris. I went to play it for the first time a while back, and then I was like, oh my god, there's gender-locked classes? If I wanted to be limited, I would just step outside into the real world. I think men should get to ride flying horses, and women should get to wear armor. If you choose to play as a girl for New Mystery of the Emblem, Lunatic is going to be really, really hard with a female protagonist. Part of what is almost necessary when you're playing Lunatic is playing, like, starting your class out as a knight, starting out with a lot of armor. Gender-locked classes is a pretty salient trend in Fire Emblem. There's a couple shared classes between them, but let men ride a horse. Let women wear the armor. Okay, we're going on to Awakening. I loved Awakening. Please let me be the class I want to be. Yeah, gender-locked Chris class. I know, gender-locked Chris classes. Chris can wear any hat he or she wants, but they can't be any class they want to. They let men ride Pegasus. They do. That's part of the PowerPoint. All right. Awakening brings back the pairing system. There is a ton of gay jokes, but no gay pairings. In a game that's fundamentally about bringing children into the world, I understand. But if children can just appear in the deep realm, they could totally just spawn. Have they ever heard of Mpreg? If people are interested, there is a gay Awakening ROM hack. Fantastic. I was tempted either, like, when I first played Awakening, I was tempted to play as a guy just so I could romance Pan, because I loved Pan. I'm not gonna be the furry allegations, but she is a fantastic woman. There's an entire scene between Frederick and Crom in this where he talks about seeing him naked. What I do think is interesting was Crom and Femme Robin have different dialogue than Crom and Male Robin, and I think Crom and Male Robin's dialogue justify them being into each other a little bit more than Crom and Female Robin. And Crom and Female Robin, she throws a soap dish at him. It's a whole song and dance number. But that's why in Engage, Crom and Male Robin are roommates, and they share a ring, maybe even more than roommates. All right, Fates. We're moving on to Fire Emblem Fates, the good. Does away with gender-locked classes. Charlotte's our first female fighter, and Tsubaki is our first male Pegasus rider. The weird lore behind men not being able to ride a Pegasus is that Pegasus don't like men, apparently, which has always felt like a really odd reason and a little bit of a cop-out here. a little bit of a cop out. Hubert in Three Houses wishes that he too could ride a Pegasus. Let my guys ride a Pegasus. Good for Tsubaki. The horses must have sensed something that they liked in him. But it was good. It was nice to see men finally not limited and women finally not limited either. Dorothy, I wish I could marry you. That's not just Charlotte. That's my voice too. Charlotte, more women with axes. More women with axes. More women. More axes that are accurate. Both. I would love both. All right. We have Fire Emblem 14. Fates, still continuing on for the good stuff. Fates delivers on what Awakening could not. Barely, but it does. We get our first romanceable same-sex pairing, Niles with male porn and Rajat with female porn, which I think is fantastic. Officially sanctioned by IS, you can pair up a same-gender pairing. Niles is sort of, I know a lot of people in the LGBT community had a little bit of criticisms with who they chose to do the pairings with, because Niles is a bit of like BDSM artist and Rajat is like sort of like a creepy stalker type thing. But, the gay pairings are possible. The gay pairings are possible. It has to count for something. Hubert Egg. I presented this panel live the other day, and someone had recommended to me a trans girl Hubert fanfiction story because people said they could read that line of dialogue, and I support anyone's headcanons. If anybody has, like, trans or gay headcanons, absolutely support. They can read that line of dialogue as and maybe a way longing for like womanhood or longing to ride a horse. I think their main longing relies on wanting Edelgard, but I can see it. I can see it. $5. We're gonna hear about the Soleil controversy. I'm giving you a sneak peek. I owe you $5. Okay, but first, one downside of Fire Emblem Fates: you have gay pairings, but no kids. But no kids. Your gameplay decision. The gameplay decision you choose to make is punished by your gender or by your queerness. And it's also really, really ironic. You can't have Nina if you pair Niles up with a guy because her whole character trait is she loves to see MLM ships. And then she can't be born if you do have an MLM ship. And then these two, Kana, they're really like fun and very powerful units to play. And even though I, as a woman, wanted to pair up with another woman, I'm like, I don't get my babies. We can adopt in the real world. Exactly. Kautik, is that your name? We can adopt in the real world. We couldn't adopt Kana. Nina is literally the Fujoshi girlie. She's like the iconic Fujoshi. Yaoi girl can't be born. But that's her thing. That's her whole thing. All right. I owe someone in here $5. Feel free to text me afterwards. This is, in general, if you'd like to connect with me, this is my Twitch. This is Soleil. This is egregiously bad. In the English version, it seems like she's blindfolded and Corin is like, you're gonna see me as a woman, and she ends up with him. In the Japanese version, she drinks like a conversion therapy potion. This is, for the year that Fates was made, this is pretty bad. This is quite bad. All right. Moving on in Fates, to more of the downsides is I would complain about like the characterization of these characters, like all of Corin's family, but that applies to the boys of Corin's family too. Everyone is a big simp for Corin, and that is A-okay. I feel like Corin's story could have been fleshed out or justified a little bit more. In Conquest, IMO, Corin's story makes no sense, but that's not a gendered issue. What is a gendered issue is the design choices. I know Camilla's like the big mommy of the series, and I do think her outfit is fantastic, but her armor, there's just underwear here. It's not shielding anything. The one girlie, I was like, oh my god, she's got like armor, was Effie. But then when I was playing with Effie as an armor knight, I'm gonna have to act this out for you guys. I'm playing with her, right? She turns around and she has assless chaps. There is nothing on Effie's backside. I played with her as an armor knight, and I was like, they're her thighs. They're exposed. The saddle sores. I'm amused that they would create an entire armor for her and then just boom, booty cheeks. Seeing Effie from behind was such a disappointment. I agree. I concur. If they're gonna do that to the girlies, they should give the guys the thigh slits too. Corn does have the really fabulous thigh slits. When is it for male corn? You want to see male armor knights? Give them assless chaps. Effie's leg armor still annoys me. I'm like, what? I agree with you, a brave fool. I'm like, what am I looking at here? Because guy thigh slits. All right, we're going to Fire Emblem 15, Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. So not in Fire Emblem 2, but in the remake Shadows of Valentia, Leon's sexuality was made explicitly clear. He gets to speak about his feelings for Valdar despite those feelings not being returned. In this, he might be created in a world where there are no other queer characters, but it was nice to see him so openly express it. And I included this as a positive point because from Fire Emblem 2, they get to further expand on characters, changing or evolving the canon. So he said, when I was a kid, there was a guy I was head over heels for. He's the reason I enlisted, actually, just so I could stay close to him. He died in the first battle we fought. I cried so hard, I thought my eyes were going to float clean out of my skull. Valdar saved me from that. Every time he saw me, he'd take the time to say something. Cheer me up. What can you do with a man like that but fall in love? You're thinking I'm a tramp, aren't you? I'm not. Him falling in love with a straight man, I know the very classic lesbian and gay struggle. I've fallen in love with many a straight woman, as y'all may have also have. Very classic gay struggle. Sorry, Leon. I also don't know if it's just me. Leon, I really strongly confuse Leon and Yuri. That's the same man, right? That's like the exact same man. Purple hair, red eyeshadow. They're twins. They're the same man, but in a different universe. Okay. We're moving on to the downsides of Fire Emblem 15, Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. So, Intelligent Systems added women into Alm's village pretty much explicitly because Alm didn't have women in his beginning village. And this is who she is. Every line of hers revolves like pretty much solely around Alm. Okay, let me see if it'll. I am so sorry. Ignore the ad. It'll come soon. Here we go. Waitress financing. Our warehouses are packed with inventory with delivery in 3 days or less. Hurry. Almost Faye stressed me out so much. Poor Faye. Here it is. We'll just play the beginning of it. Oh, say, someone who calls it Fire Emblem 15. Pre-tariff pricing? Some evil stuff is going on in our country right now.
Into each other here on the battlefield. Yes, well, I was hoping we could get to know each other better. There are so few of us women fighting alongside Sir Ohm, after all. And there are many things I wish to talk about that aren't for the ears of men. Well, I don't think that kind of friendship is for me. Sorry. Huh? I'd rather spend time near Ohm than stand about gossiping. No offense. Anyway, good luck, I guess. What in Milla's name just happened?
Silk trying to put on the Riz. What I heard from this entire conversation is Betchel test. What Betchel test? Dismissed immediately. Silk wanted sisterhood. Poor Silk. Silk's like, we're the only women. We should talk to each other. And she's like, I'd rather talk about Alm. If the issue was that there was no women in Alm's starting village, and then they added a woman, surely it didn't have to be Faye. She's not a girl's girl. But I'm really glad Fire Emblem does have a ton of girls. Silk, I would have been there for you. You look enough like Marianne to me. I would have been there for you, girly. All right. Oh, so here's the infamous photo from Echoes, Shadows of Valentia. Fire Emblem really loves their damsel in distress trope. Even online thought this scene was a little bit too far. People describe the prison scene with Mathilda as kind of gratuitous. So, Marianne Truth. Marianne's such a sweetie. Marianne Appreciator. I am. All right. So this is the Matilda prison scene. I do think Shadows of Valentia has amongst like the best graphics out of the entire franchise. Incredible cutscenes. This one I was just like, what's happening here? What's happening here? All right. This is the game. We're on to Fire Emblem 16 Three Houses. I would argue that in terms of female representation, Three Houses is probably the biggest leap forward we've had thus far in terms of women. Well written, nuanced woman, love her or hate her, she was an incredible leader with a lot of ambitions. And she's not the only one in Three Houses. A lot of the characters have really fantastic writing behind them, like Rhea, Manuela, Dorothea. Incredibly fun or like incredibly nuanced and interesting characters to follow. I'm I'm for the girls, but I am a golden deer girly through and through. I do respect Edelgard and her ambitions, of course. I think it's amazing that she stands up for what she believes in, and she breaks a lot of the past protagonist trope of being sort of like the demure female protagonist. Okay, this is another really good thing about Three Houses. I feel a much queerer cast. Queer women are eating in this game. You can romance Edelgard, Dorothea, Rhea? Question mark. That's a couple people who watch my Twitch are playing, and I don't want to spoil who Rhea is in relation to who we are as the character, but question mark there. Mercedes, I learned we can't romance Shamir. Shamir can romance Catherine, but queer women. A fun fact about Three Houses is I tried to romance Petra. I loved her. That's a cosplay I'm putting together. I was even thinking of doing the little triangle in honor of her on my face today. I tried to romance her in Three Houses, and then I was like, oh my god, she's not gay. I totally respect that. And then in the ending, she got with Dorothea, and I was like, oh, she is gay. I have no riz. Violet has no riz. She is gay, just not for me. I respect it. Maybe in another universe, Petra. Fantastic character. She went for Dorothea. Okay. For the downsides for Three Houses, MLM options are still quite a bit limited. You like Alois? No. You like Gilbert? No. Then you're kind of out of luck. At least you get Lindhart. You get Sleepy Boy Lindhart. And I think in the DLC they added Yuri as a really strong option. This is the Jello Apocalypse video. There's only one gay option, and it's the old man. Blow on my face to increase affinity. I like this Jello Apocalypse video has aged so well because Three Houses really speaks to this trope. I think if you marry Alois, he doesn't even stay with you. He's like, I have a wife. And he seems like he'd be such a good dad. His dad jokes, imaginably elite. MLM options are limited, but it won't be. It won't be for that long in the franchise. All right, on to Engage. Unless someone wants to tell me their opinion on whether Edelgard was justified, we're going on to Fire Emblem Engage. This is one of my favorite Fire Emblem memes, the illusion of free choice. No matter if you think Engage is a good game, a terrible game, people are going to talk more about Fire Emblem Three Houses, controversy, and discourse. Anywhere I go, Serena's Forest, Fire Emblem Discords, it's all about whether Edelgard was justified. I see you, Esper-chan. Okay, we're now at Fire Emblem 17 Engage. These people gay. Good for them. Good for them. Engage is to sexuality as Three Houses is to gender. There are so many romanceable options for both men and women and everyone in between. There's a little bisexual flag between everyone who is romanceable by men and women in the game. Guys, girls, everyone is eating in Engage. I just think it's really fantastic that they really opened up the options for everyone to play. We also have our first male base class dancer, Seedall, the male dancer, and it's a pretty big move. In the past, we've had a lot of female dancers. In Three Houses, you can elect a guy to be your dancer. However, you don't, it's not a base class for him. He's the first base class male dancer, and I really like in his chapter, I think him being with Corrin is a reference to Azura and her as a dancer. Seedall, my beloved. All right. A singular downside to Engage, minus the plot wasn't as strong as Three Houses, is in the Japanese version, Anna is romanceable. And here's the difference between the English and the Japanese. In English, she says, we make a good team coming up with this product together. I'm really grateful. I got a memento of our great teamwork, so why shouldn't you? Nope, this partnership is our ticket to fame, fortune, and finding my family. And then in the Japanese version, she says, after you propose to her, I'm still a child, so I'm not ready for these sort of things. Even if it's too soon for us to be lovers, we can be partners, don't you think? With you, I might be the world's best traveling merchant. Maybe my family someday. Let me introduce you as my significant other. Which is weird and a little bit groomery. I went online to see how people feel about this. Some people feel really strongly about them changing the Japanese and English text. I think it was a change for the better. There's a lot of changes in Engage actually over Japanese and English. I of course respect canon. I love when changes are like I love seeing culturally tailored stuff, but just seeing a couple of the gendered changes I thought were really, really good. Louis would like spy on women in the old version, but then in the new version, he's like, I spy on everyone. Get it, Louis, I guess. Positive change for sure. Positive change for, I didn't know, first female barbarian? Getting our butch women in. In conclusion, Fire Emblem has made incredible strides in the right direction with gender and especially sexuality. And as an absolute lover of the game, especially hardcore modes, I love to play it with them all on the hardest mode possible. I am really hopeful to see where the series goes next. I would love to see some more complicated plots. All right. And I really, really thank you guys for coming to my panel. And I thank EmblemCon a lot for letting me host it. This is my Twitch and my Instagram. Oh, I don't scan I don't know if the QR code goes anywhere. But it was so nice meeting so many of you guys. For the last 10 or so minutes, I can absolutely take questions, comments, anything like that. Louise Amelier and voice actors are IRL though. Wait, I heard about that. I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for hosting. You've been oh, thank you. Oh, you guys are so nice. I appreciate it. And if you guys disagree with me on anything, please totally feel free to tell me. I like love to improve it every single time. If I was ever inaccurate, I'm totally down to change it up in any way I can. Aw, thanks, guys. Yuri and Jaritza? Wait, I'll add that. Jaritza's an MLM option? I didn't realize that. I'm only used to seeing him as spoiler for Three Houses. I'm only used to seeing him as a Death Knight. The only time I see him is on the other end of Lysithia's Death T-Spikes. I didn't know that. We'll have to see more Ace and Arrow characters. Yes! I can absolutely put that in for a future one. Thank you. I wonder, do you guys think there's any canonical asexual or aromantic characters in Fire Emblem? I'm sure there's got to be. What's the most interesting thing you found out in your research that you didn't know prior? The most interesting thing, I love that question. Okay, I think the most interesting thing, I think it might actually be Kaga's interview when he was like, women would think Leaf's not hot if he wasn't on a horse. We've got, or if he's on a horse, we got to take him off a horse. I don't know what was going through his mind or what horses have to do with perceived attractiveness. So, talking about GNC guys, I can definitely talk more about GNC people. When Three Houses first came out, Jaritza wasn't romanceable because he wasn't playable. That was added later on in the patch. Ah, okay, interesting. I never even used him as a character. I'm fascinated. If Anna in Awakening isn't romanced by Robin, she doesn't date at all. She's too focused on the grind. That's actually a headcanon I have for Anna. Her one true, I joke with my chatters, her one true religion is like the ultra Ronald Reagan. She's such a capitalist through and through and through. Anything good or bad happens in the series, she's like, do you have money? Oh, gatekeeper for Arrow Ace representation? You know what? Yes. I endorse this headcanon so thoroughly and so fully. Greetings, Professor. Nothing to report, except for I don't have a crush today. What is the Ace Arrow stereotype? Is it bread? I think it's bread. The Annas reproduce asexually. Oh my gosh, just like Nurse Joy's. They reproduce just like Nurse Joy's. Tamara is I can totally see Tamara as a lesbian. I hope I know Genshin is related, so this is a controversial and risky opinion, but Genshin's gotta pick it up with the people of color. I was seeing Engage come out with such fantastic people of color representation, and I was like, where is it in Genshin Impact? They have an entire Middle Eastern region, and they don't have people of color. They don't have dark skinned people. Tamara and blank polycule. For whatever reason, it blurred it out. That is Tamara and her lesbian polycule. Twitch, you can't blur out lesbian. Petra Thea is one of my favorite non-MC ships, Rowan. Me too. When I couldn't romance Petra, I was really, really happy for her just to see it. Monica's good loser lesbian representation. Monica's entire thing is, Edelgard, did you notice me? I'd kill for you, Edelgard. Which, relatable, lesbian yearning, but hello. Okay, I think I've got to head so I can let the next person start setting up. But thank you so much. You've been a fantastic audience to do a panel for. I will make sure to review the VOD later to see so many of the comments. There were so many coming through, and I definitely want to read them all. Hoping to meet you guys later, and I hope you enjoy the rest of EmblemCon. A lot of really, really fun events. Fun panel. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank
Have
you.
fun at the next panel. Oh,
Oh no, sorry about that. Thank you so much for hosting this entire panel. I know I was watching chat the whole time. They loved it, and I loved it as well.
what? All right. Bye.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That concludes this panel, and thank you to Sakura again for joining us for this year. These panels are something that I love hearing about all these different takes and opinions, and just overall just history lessons of this sort of stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for the next panel. We're coming up real soon on another game. This time, Who Wants to Be a Billionaire? All right, everybody. We'll see you in just a few.